Hey guys, this is Charlotte, and you're watching Going In Raw.
Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found, and of course, taped live at the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. A quick reminder, this week on our patron exclusive, Friendo Club TV exclusive, Numbers Don't Lie, we'll be taking a look at one Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk. Of course, huge return this past Friday, and the Friendos at $10 and up on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson voted for CM Punk to be the next person for this Thursday's Numbers Don't Lie. We'll be filming that live, and if you want to vote on the numbers for CM Punk, you can do that right now. Patreon.com/Steve and Larson, $5 and up. Or if you visit us live on the Twitch for one of our recaps, you can also get access to that survey. Or if you're a YouTube channel member, just click join and you can get access to that survey as well. We'll be filming it live this Thursday. Before we get started, a quick shout out to a couple new patrons over there on the Patreon. We got Nick Birch, Michael Krish, Xavier Gray, Royce Murray, Vic Slider, The Daily Smark, Justin A. Thomas, and just today, Doug Porter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your support. We appreciate it. We're going to talk, of course, about Monday Night Raw here in a moment. But if you could do us a huge favor, if you're watching us on the YouTube, hit that like button and that subscribe button and that notify bell. Make sure you always get your notifications on new Going In Raw content. And if you're listening to us in the audio realm, do us a huge favor. Leave us a rating, review, or a comment. It helps grow Going In Raw. Larson, what did you think of Monday Night Raw last night, the Raw after SummerSlam?
I mean, it was an improvement over previous weeks. There wasn't so many rematches. Main event was a rematch, but otherwise we got some new matchups potentially. You know, they seemingly brought Damian Priest up to the main event scene. Sheamus is in the mix now against Lashley. I think they're having a match next week. We got Drew McIntyre involved in the whole Sheamus Damian Priest thing now too. Of course, he's technically not allowed to have a match against Bob Lashley. We'll see if they find a way around that. I guess the thing everybody was talking about, and let's get to it. Maybe this will be on the thumbnail.
The Buckethead.
Yeah.
They gave Karrion Kross. What I think maybe happened is Vince took one look at his sort of standard ring gear, which, his last little spell in NXT, he adopted some sort of gladiator-esque trunks. Yeah. And then he was like, well, why don't you go all the way with it? Give him a Lord Humongous-esque mask.
Totally what it is.
And some straps, right? That's probably what happened backstage, right?
Yeah. It's probably Bruce Pritchard thought, remember when Sid was Lord Humongous? Let's do that with Karrion Kross because
he was an attraction.
1,000% what it is. And so they have that still they put out on Twitter, I guess it was of him backstage with some red lights on him. And even though you can't see his face, if you look at the eyes, you can see how self-conscious Karrion Kross is about wearing that bucket on his head. And he walks out.
There is nothing funnier than a badass dude, a jack dude, right, who has eyes of doubt. It's the funniest thing because these guys walk around cock of the walk. They're like super confident. You toss a bucket on the head, you look at his eyes, and it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Or why are they making me do this?
What's funny though, man, is that we look at this and we're like, oh my goodness, what is it this week? What are they doing now? By the end of his match, the straps are all falling off. It looks so cheap. And I think that's sort of the main thing for me is that he showed up in NXT and he's got this amazing entrance, right? It is next level. They poured everything they had into the details of this thing.
Yes.
They got Scarlett with them. And then the question always becomes, and now because there's this precedent that's been established with main roster, it's like, okay, what's Vince going to do to dick with them? And you see this all the time. It's either Bob Roode comes out smiling or Sanity, their entrance is just, Kevin Dunn takes the entrance from NXT and he just Kevin Dunns it up where it's just too much.
It's too much.
It's too much, right? And then Nakamura has like a slightly different, it's always little changes.
Yeah, there's
right?
like Nakamura, the slightly different entrance. Aleister Black, when he got called up, they add the creaking to the platform. They had the Ricochet sounds before Ricochet's entrance, and individually they're all little things.
Right.
Or even that pause in Seth's theme where apparently Vince says something's got to go there, and he gave Seth some choices, and Seth's like, all right, put it down in there. There's all these little things that it's not huge, but especially if we've seen them for a while, like we have in NXT, we get used to them.
Yeah, right.
Like even go back when Keith Lee debuted and his music was gone, and it was like, it's a little thing.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge deal, but it's a pattern of we're used to something in NXT. They build up this character that we have an attachment towards, and then they go to the main roster and see when they change things more often than not, just because Vince wants to change something, not because nothing is working.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, this little tweak is going to put my stamp on it, and it's going to make it slightly better. And really all it does is just it piques the curiosity of nerds like us who look way too deep into wrestling, right? Because the casual fan, who cares, right?
Yeah.
The thing about, but we are nerds here, and that's what we like to talk about, so we're going to talk about it. And the thing that gets me about it, though, is that so we view it through the context of what are they going to do this week with poor Karrion Kross, right? It has the seed of being kind of cool, and I liken it to, like, just imagine this now, right? Imagine he never did NXT, and they're debuting Kross on main roster. And so from what I understand, there have been reports out there, and I don't have the sourcing right now. So let's just say for the sake of argument that Scarlett is there's something going on there. Maybe she's not cleared to be out there. Okay, right. Let's just say that for the sake of argument. Let's say she was cleared, right? And they basically do his NXT entrance, but main roster, they do it on main roster, and they make it even bigger and crazier and even more nuts, right? And so it looks big. And let's say they hire Tom Savini and say, hey, remember how cool the Fiend stuff was? Use your magic to do how you would do like Lord Humongous, but in a really detailed, elaborate, expensive way. And Scarlett is there, and she has something similar. How badass would that be? That would be in keeping with WWE's production budget, right? Like, they can do big things. If you give him the WrestleMania treatment and use the same idea, like Cool Gladiator guy, this would blow people's minds. The problem is, number one, it looks cheap. They didn't hire Tom Savini. They went down to Dollar Store and got a red bucket and cut out like some eyes, right? And they just stuck it on him because his entrance just feels cheap compared to what we've already seen in NXT.
Yes, it does.
And it's just coming on the heels of him losing to Jeff Hardy in his Raw debut, him losing to Keith Lee already. Yeah. It's the rollout that's been so supremely botched that we don't buy it.
Well, it feels like the rollout has been botched because there's no vision behind it. It's a week-to-week thing, And when I see stuff like the helmet on Kross, first thing a lot of people are making demolition comparisons. Especially with the straps across his chest.
Yeah.
But you think of early 90s WWE where there was all these really cheesy, over-the-top gimmicks. And wrestling has moved on, for the most part, from that. Your character has to be grounded in some semblance of reality these days, or some measure of relatability. You can't do these crazy, over-the-top gimmicks. I mean, there's a couple examples outside that we think of supernatural-type characters. Like Bray Wyatt. Was there a whole lot grounded in reality in terms of the presentation? No, but in terms of the psychology behind the character, that was grounded in our reality. You know what I mean? Like, there was very distinct reasons Bray Wyatt became the Fiend, and that was grounded in reality. And when you have these huge over-the-top presentations, gimmicks that are superficial and not like based on anything that is relating to the character itself, then I feel like we're almost like one step away from vocational gimmicks, Like I said on the pre-show, like we could have somebody come up, a call from NXT, like Cameron Grimes comes, hey, you're a taxi driver now, And that's the concern. I know it's probably off base because I would hope there's people backstage in the creative department be like, can't do these aren't going to fly anymore. Fans won't get into them. They see right through this stuff. But when we see something that's cheap and cheesy, and you can kind of tell that the person who has to do it just doesn't believe in it, then you can't help but feel like, okay, they're self-conscious about it,
Yeah, I honestly think that I kind of counter your point with like, I feel like big characters and not necessarily relatable characters can totally work. Like Aleister Black, I don't. There's nothing that I sort of see about him that I'm like, oh, he's kind of like me. I just thought he was a badass dude.
Well, I know, but when he's talking about his story about, sorry to interrupt, the Dark Father, that was all based on, like stuff that's not relatable but grounded in reality. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm thinking of his NXT review. I mean, I look, his NXT review, his NXT stuff. Yeah. I don't disagree that I think relatable characters are the thing. I agree with that. I think, like, more simplistically though, just badass stuff works. And you hit the nail on the head when you said cheap and corny stuff doesn't. Sometimes, like, if all they said was, hey, Karrion Kross, we're looking for somebody to be like, okay, so this might be a bad example, like Triple H, for example, right? It's like there are elements because of his run in DX. Hey, who doesn't want to be the guys running around just being cool, right? But if you think about a little bit later on how he was just badass with a sledgehammer who came out to Motorhead, like, that's just cool. It's just cool. And people like just cool, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you need a little bit more meat there. Like when they get on the mic, you have to understand where he's coming from at least.
And that's what I mean, based in reality.
Yeah, okay.
Sure, like
absolutely.
Their motivations, the psychology behind their characters has to be based in some semblance of reality that we can understand. That's what I'm
absolutely.
talking about.
Yeah, sure. And so when Aleister sits down and he talks and he says stuff, you understand the stories that he's telling, whether it's his main roster thing or it's the NXT
yes,
thing.
Because
I
it's
100%
based in a reality
understand
that we can comprehend, yes.
And eventually with Kross, you would absolutely need that, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But like just from a presentation standpoint, a getting to know you type thing, a dude who comes out with like the coolest, most elaborate, badass looking metal entrance you could think of, because his theme song's still cool, but like his whole presentation on main roster has been cheap and corny, especially given that we've seen it already be really, really cool in one place, and then you see it stripped down to be like the dollar store version.
Yep.
And it just sucks. And so he comes out with like a dollar store gladiator gimmick, and it's like, oh, this poor son of a bitch, So I think that there's a way to do that gimmickal, and so often with WWE, the seed is there. Like we've talked endlessly about the Nikki A.S.H. stuff. They could have something there, and then what happened? They didn't go all the way with it. They didn't give it the proper respect her story deserved.
Yeah.
And that now we're with her and Rhea in a weird limbo. Yeah. AKA the women's tag division.
Yeah.
With all these stars who really should be competing for, like, I don't know, the main title and maybe mid-level stuff and just write some good stories for singles feuds.
I know.
Instead, they just toss them into the tag division, and it's kind of like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, that's my rant about Karrion Kross. They just put a bucket on his head, dude.
Yeah, they did. They put a bucket on his head. Like, hey, you look great now, don't you? All right.
Ah, look at you. He's like, no, I don't. What'd you say? Yeah,
it's well. This will work, I guess.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? AEW's not gonna want you.
There's probably some truth there. The other kind of huge development on Raw last night is we finally saw the breakup of The Miz and John Morrison, something they've been teasing for a few weeks here, and I thought it was actually executed pretty well. Miz and Morrison, despite some of their segments, especially Miz TV segments going on way too long, they do have really good chemistry. And they have always had really good chemistry. And
absolutely.
They really played into that tonight, the bickering between the two of them before the Miz's match against Xavier Woods, how they played things off after the match, where it seemed like, all right, first, hey, we made up, we're cool now. And then Miz, remember when Daniel Bryan went off on the Miz on talking smack about him being essentially a soft worker? He's soft, and not just in terms of it's in terms of his entire wrestling presentation, but specifically, I think how he goes about performing his moves. Some of the Miz moves don't look like they have a whole lot of impact. I felt like last night, and I don't know if it's Morrison said to him, I felt like for the Miz at least, he was laying into John Morrison pretty good.
Yeah,
it felt clumsy. It felt intense. And it felt like The Miz was actually trying to beat the hell out of John Morrison. That's not something I say about The Miz very often. Not a knock against The Miz. He's got a reputation of being an incredibly safe worker. Until now, he had never been injured. So, there's an upside to working as Daniel Bryan put it, soft style.
Yeah, I thought this beatdown was incredible. I think that both these guys seem to be, Morrison, he can work what looks like a stiff style. Like you put him in there with Sheamus, like they had some matches, and it's like, oh, these guys are having fun out there. They're really laying into each other, making it look good. You're right; they both have incredibly good chemistry, and I feel like both these guys probably understand that in order to keep the audience's attention, they're going to have to turn this up. And I'm so glad that they went that route because you and I have been wanting this split for a while. I know I'm a huge Morrison fan.
Same.
And when Miz is motivated, it's not when he's motivated, it's when he's given something interesting to do.
Yeah.
He's unfortunately with the Miz, he's not the kind of guy who can turn trash into treasure.
Yeah.
He does his best. He goes out there. But if he's not given something compelling, he's not compelling.
Yeah.
You could give CM Punk Ryback, which they did 2 years in a row at Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
And CM Punk can still make it compelling. Miz ain't that guy. But when he is given something good, he's damn good.
He can't be.
Yeah. And this is going to be good. Just from what I saw last night, I thought it was excellent. The small, effective backstage bit with Morrison saying, I'm going to take this son of a bitch out next week, I thought was incredibly good. It was very efficient. It was short. And Morrison's going to bring it. And it seems like these guys are aiming. They're looking to make this memorable.
Yes.
And it deserves to be because they are so, say what you will about them. They do have such a history together, and in their first run, and now since Morrison's been back, obviously, I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be really good. The beatdown was great last night.
Yeah, it was great. It was I'm certainly no Logan Paul fan, but I thought the crowd really kept that. Like if the crowd wasn't so intent on
hell
booing
of a crowd last night,
Logan Paul, that could have been a really awkward and painfully long segment. But based on the crowd's involvement in it, I felt like it kind of held the whole thing together.
Logan Paul, say what you will about it, and I'll never be happy to see him in the WWE.
Same.
When he's out there, he knows how to deal with being a live performer. He's not bad. I have no desire to see the guy pretty much ever, but I do know that when he's out there, he's not going to shit the bed. It's not going to be, what was his name? The basketball dad.
Oh, LeVar Ball?
LeVar Ball, which was just the cringiest. Oh my God, that run of his. It was like, or Gronk for that matter. I'm sorry, I know some people are into Gronk. It was just, it's embarrassing to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
Logan Paul, he wasn't, he was like, he seemed like, oh man, this crowd is really giving it to me. So I'm doing my job right. And that San Diego crowd was really good last night, especially they made that segment for sure. Absolutely.
They did. Definitely.
All right, let's take a quick break here to get a word in from our sponsor, Liquid Death. So, Larson.
Yeah.
The calendar may say that we're nearing the end of summer, but the thermometer is telling me that it's still hot.
Oh, it's hot.
But when I feel the heat coming on, I reach for this awesome-looking tall boy can of Liquid Death.
Yeah, you may ask, is there beer in this can? Because it certainly looks like it's a can of beer, but no. Inside this can is 16.9 ounces of mountain water that will brutally murder your thirst, hence the name. And not only does this can look cool, but what makes it even cooler is that aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, unlike plastic bottles, which mostly end up in a landfill. See, Steve, plastic bottles, they're a money loser for recycling centers, but aluminum cans actually make them some money.
Yeah, also, Liquid Death donates 10% of their profits from every can sold to help bring death upon plastic pollution. So if you want to trick people into thinking you're drinking a beer when you're actually destroying your thirst with refreshing mountain water in an ice-cold can, Go to liquiddeath.com/GIR and get free shipping on all water and merch. That's liquiddeath.com/GIR.
Or grab some at your neighborhood Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. Before we get back to the show, let's get a word from our sponsor, Craig. You know, Steve, I've been feeling this for a while. I feel like I want to take up a new hobby. I want to make stuff out of wood using these hands of mine.
Right.
But I have no idea where to start. Where do I start?
Well, you want to get into woodworking, right?
That's right.
I was once like you, Larson, feeling the urge to craft something with these hands, but unsure if I could do so. But then I got these hands on a Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro. Craig has been the innovator and leader in pocket hole joinery, setting the standard for 30 plus years. And now, if I got my Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro and the drill, I feel like I can build nearly anything from bookcases to desks to outdoor patio furniture.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Please tell me more. I want to know. I want to learn more. Come on.
All right. You see, pocket hole joinery is a way of creating fast, simple, and strong joints in a variety of wood projects. And the Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro makes it easier than ever. You know me, Larson. I've never been terribly handy, and the thought of building something out of wood with these hands of mine seems like a pipe dream. But after going to craigtool.com, that's K-R-E-G tool.com, and getting my hands on a Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro, I can build pocket hole projects anytime, anywhere.
Wow. I am impressed. I am honestly really impressed, Steve, but I have a question for you.
Yes, Larson.
Can you build me a bookcase? It would look great right there. Right there behind me.
No.
Why not?
No, Larson, because you could do it yourself.
Oh.
Now anyone, even Larson, can easily create perfect and strong pocket hole joints with the Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro. It works with a wide variety and size of material and is great for building all types of indoor and outdoor wood projects.
The Craig Pocket Hole Jig 520 Pro comes with everything you need and retails for just $99.99. It's available nationwide at Home Depot, Lowe's, and other home centers, woodworking and hardware stores. Learn more at craigtool.com. That's K-R-E-G tool.com.
Again, that's craigtool.com, K-R-E-G tool.com.
Let's just get into it, Steve. What do you say?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so the show opened up. The show opened up with Bobby Lashley, the almighty champion, MVP, coming down the ring to address what happened at SummerSlam. In short, MVP was saying, do you expect us to apologize for what Lashley did to Goldberg in terms of attacking him after the bell, taking out his knee, making him essentially give up, and putting Gage in the Hurt Lock after he jumped to the barricade to go after Lashley. And Lashley says, not going to happen. I mean, he actually said, they can go to hell. Maybe he wants to apologize. MVP calls everybody in San Diego cowards. Damian Priest comes out, and he's like, hey, why are you calling Goldberg a coward? You're the one that jumped him after the match. Yet Bill's the coward, and then you're calling everybody else here a coward because they're not going to attack you from behind. And then Priest asks Lashley, does that make you feel good? Make you feel like a tough guy? He says, I'm not going to jump you from behind. I'm not half your size. He gets in his face, and he challenges him to a match tonight. He says, to be clear, if he doesn't want to accept my challenge, then you're a coward. And then Lashley goes after him.
So, yeah. And then MVP's like, all right, here we go. Lashley's going to run to the back, get changed, and then come back out and have a match, which he did pretty quick because the commercial break was only like 3 minutes. So that was pretty fast.
I wonder if he had his gear on underneath his suit.
Had to have, right?
Which was a great suit. That jacket was amazing.
Really, it looked like something out of Match Game for sure. Yeah, it looked great. And I love this, man. I love Priest. I'll never hate when somebody new enters a main event scene or a title scene. You know, he wins the U.S. title. He's obviously been putting in a lot of work. And yeah, I like this a lot. So we did get the trope, though, and you listed this yesterday as your number one. Don't like it. Trope that you don't like. I liked it only because, number one, the match was good. The entirety of the segment was like 40 minutes. And it elevated Priest. So I was cool with it, but typically I'm with you in terms of one match leads to run-ins, which leads, they just changed the match. Yeah. I mean, in this case, there was technically a finish because Sheamus DQ'd it, but you know they did it a thing. So yeah, it was first supposed to be Priest versus Lashley. Lashley has Priest lined up for a spear. Priest hits a boot to counter, then a lariat. Sheamus comes down, attacks Priest. That match is thrown out. It's DQ. Drew McIntyre comes down to make the save for Priest, which leads to Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest versus Sheamus and Lashley. And yeah, this was a long match. It was physical. It was fun. Everybody looked like they were just laying in this match. It was really good stuff. I like this.
Yeah, it was a fun bout. In the end, Damian Priest was actually pretty isolated for a good long stretch. Eventually, he gets the hot tag to Drew. Drew dodges a brogue kick. Priest tags himself in. He does like a leaping leg lariat, boots Lashley off the apron, and he turns right into a running knee from Sheamus. So while Priest is selling that, Lashley, he's upset. So he and MVP just walk out on Sheamus. Just leave the ringside area. And Sheamus is like, hey, what are you doing? And while Sheamus is distracted by all that, Priest tags in Drew McIntyre. He hits Sheamus with the Claymore to get the win.
Really quickly here, our ratings guru White Brownie is entered the chat with the numbers for Raw. They actually broke 2 million.
That's something else.
For the fan there, the demo was huge. It was 0.64.
Yeah.
That is a massive number.
It's a pretty huge number, I know.
Given where they've been over the past 18 months or so.
Yeah.
So
I guess now we got to see if they can maintain it.
Yes. So after that, we had a Doudrop interview where she basically says, and I like this, she's kayfabing what the deal was. She says, Eva Marie got me my foot in the door here on Monday Night Raw, but I didn't sign up for being tucked down to. But you know what? I like the name Doudrop. Next time I see Eva Marie, I'm going to Doudrop her. And then Eva Marie does show up, but with a road case in hand, she rolls that right into Doudrop, lays her out, and says, this is what evolution looks like. And then the interviewer, I think it was Sarah Schreiber, said, hey, are you okay? And she was like, I'm going to get that bitch next time.
Wow.
She said that. I think she said that bitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, Doudrop is going to remain Doudrop. She's owning the name that she was given.
Yes.
It does have a ring to it.
It does.
I don't think it says it rolls off the tongue like Piper Niven, which is a great name.
It is a great name.
But I think she's going to be pretty successful.
I think as kind of an act of defiance, hey, Eva Marie gave me this name. I'm going to establish myself.
Yeah.
And take that name from Eva Marie and make it mine.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there. Next, we got Karrion Kross versus Ricochet. Karrion Kross, that helmet,
the bucket
straps across his chest. It looked ridiculous. And
does anybody have something I can use for my mop? Hey, you, Karrion, come here. I need your bucket head.
And the straps were really vibrant, kind of burgundy red. They're bright, and they had his logo in the center of it.
And here's the thing: he's jacked, but he's not so jacked that they look taut on him. So they're kind of like lazy, and just flimsy. And then, like I said, by the end of this match, which was not a long match at all,
one of them
they had come undone. The back of them had come undone.
Yeah.
So it was goof status.
It really was. He dominated Ricochet, wins after hitting a power bomb, a Saito suplex, locks on the cross jacket. Ricochet pretty much taps out immediately. They're actually getting a push going behind Karrion Kross, but I don't know how long people are going to take him seriously. He gets zero reaction.
He gets no reaction whatsoever.
And
now,
if they keep doing these ridiculous outfits, people might start laughing at him. I don't know if that's the reaction they want.
Look, if it's 3 months of him in this gladiator outfit when Scarlett is able to come back, apparently, or they decide to bring her back, they pair her with him, and he just keeps on annihilating people and tapping them out to the cross jacket. Maybe in 6 months. Best case scenario, he takes that title off Priest when Priest moves up. If they get Priest up to the main event scene, like for reals, maybe Kross could be the next United States champion.
Yep, I don't know.
Look, the thing is, the 24/7 title scene is like exclusively 3 people at this point. That's not an option for kids. That's not. I mean, we joke about that, but that ain't gonna happen.
No. At least not anytime.
What's another parallel for a guy who is booked really strong, isn't really working all that great? So you don't really see him all that often. I don't know what another guy like Kross is.
At least not currently, no.
The thing about Kross is that it's sort of like to the moon or nothing, right? Well, I guess, okay, you know what? Maybe what we're seeing with Apollo Crews. Maybe he'll beat a bunch of people who are obviously beneath him, but he can't quite beat guys like, let's say they bring guys like Sheamus. Guys like Sheamus would be his ceiling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he just can't get past Sheamus. And then he'll just linger there, he'll be the guy who he beats everybody except for the guys they want to elevate.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. Then we get a interview that happened at SummerSlam. Baron's being interviewed about losing the Money in the Bank contract, or Big E getting it back, losing a match to him. And then Big E comes in to interrupt that interview. Then Logan Paul comes in too, and they're chatting. And then they go back to Baron, and Baron's just upset about it.
Yeah. And Baron is having quite a time. Apparently they're putting something together because he's been on a roll in Las Vegas. He's been winning. He's got some money in his pocket. He got a new shirt.
Mm-hmm. He stayed in the presidential suite.
Yeah, and apparently they're just filming all sorts of content of this. So evidently there might be some sort of twist or turn along the way. I think
interesting.
Like
some good
Wrestling
stuff on
Observer
SmackDown.
had that or something, yeah.
And then we had Sheamus. He's mad. He storms into MVP and Lashley's locker room. He's getting a bunch of crap for leaving him during the match. And Lashley pretty much says, hey, if you want it to happen, don't get involved in our business. And then tells him to get out of his face.
Oh, Patrick Levick says Baron is now at a Motel 6. So apparently his luck is, in fact,
running
out. Yeah. I like this. Jonathan says it's all going good until Baron wakes up without a kidney. Yeah. He wakes up, there's a note, run to the doctor.
Yeah.
After that, we had Moist TV. Now, Larson, yesterday, you and I had a bit of a contest or an idea for one where we said, let's boil down Moist TV with Logan Paul to one sentence.
That's right.
Did you write a sentence for this?
I did not, because I forgot about that. Did you?
I did, yes.
Okay, go ahead. I'll think about one.
All right. Miz interrupts a booed out of the building Logan Paul to ridicule him, which pops the crowd, but also raises the ire of Morrison as he thinks Miz tries to make everything about himself.
Okay, that's good. Let me check something real quick. I mean, I don't know if I can really top that. You kind of encapsulate everything in a sentence. That's pretty much what it is.
I actually worked on that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Larson's good with words.
Not good with memory, though, because I completely forgot about that.
And then I looked at your notes, and I was like, this is more than one sentence.
Yeah. That's one long run-on sentence.
Yeah. So, like, Morrison was trying to help Logan Paul promote some boxing matches coming up. Crowd's booing the crap out of Logan Paul,
Yes.
and it actually makes him laugh quite a bit. He's like, are you serious? What's going on here? Miz comes out. He ridicules Logan Paul, says, when is your brother going to get knocked out tomorrow or whenever the fight, this weekend, I guess.
Yeah, this weekend.
And then Morrison's like, dude, you're training, lists example after example of Miz making everything about himself. They start to bicker a little bit. Xavier Woods comes out. We get a match, Miz versus Xavier Woods. And Morrison, he's trying to hype up his buddy during this match. He's trying to, say, hey, do a good job. And then at one point, Miz has Woods up, and Morrison's going to use the drip stick on him. And Woods ducks that. I think Miz was supposed to get hit with this thing, but he ducked out of the way too.
They both ducked, but it's enough of a distraction that allowed Woods to eventually get the roll-up win, yeah.
Right, yeah. And after the match, of course, Miz is upset with that, and Morrison's like, oh, man, I'm sorry, And he looks at Miz, and Miz looks pissed. Miz sort of calms down, and he's like, hey, yeah, you want to fight? You want to do some drip stick stuff? So he goes and he gives him the drip stick, and they start, squirting at the crowd and stuff. And then Miz just blindsides him, just beats the crap out of him.
Yep.
And then I noticed this bit. He had him in line for his skull-crushing finale, and he said something. It was two clauses. The first one was, I love you. And then he said something else, and I couldn't read his lips. But I was really curious if anybody knows or if anybody can make out what he said.
Yeah.
But the first one was, he said, I love you, but something. And then he got him with the skull crushing finale.
Yeah.
and he really got in his face. It was really, really effective.
It was pretty good. Hopefully the two of them make something of this story, because it could be a lot of fun. So earlier in the day, Rhea is showing up at the arena. Nikki, A.S.H, walks up to her, says, "Hey, I'm not going to let what happened at SummerSlam keep me down. And after teaming together with you last week, I'd like you to be my partner tonight." And Rhea says, "Beating the hell out of Nia and Shayna would lift her spirits. I'm in."
Yeah, she should have said, "I don't know. We're probably going to win and then be stuck in the tag division. And I really want."
Doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
Go ahead.
Oh, after that, we have a 24/7 segment. Reggie is getting some ice cream. It looked delicious. And then he gets one, and he knows that Truth and Tozawa are running up on him. So he gets them some ice cream, and they're like, "Oh, thanks." But then they realize they're there to get the 24/7 title. And then I'm assuming they had...
There was a trampoline. There was a trampoline. So he jumped out of the tree and bounded right up on the top of the ice cream truck. That had to be a trampoline.
Okay, so that for certain is. But then he leapt off the ice cream truck onto what had to have been some sort of cushion, right?
I think so, because that was a good 8 feet in the air. He
that was a long ways.
I know.
And then he got into the ice cream truck and he drove away. And some shirtless, overweight fella comes running out of a trailer in the distance, like sort of, I don't know, 20 yards away or whatever.
Yeah.
In the background, as Truth and Tozawa start blaming each other for what was going on.
Yeah.
It was a pretty funny segment. But when he came out of the tree, I was like, what the hell? How did he do that?
Trampoline.
Because he did it so seamlessly.
Yeah,
it was great.
It was great. After that, we get Riddle and Randall, Keith, Orton backstage. Riddle tries to give Orton a hug, and Orton says, "Doesn't work for me, brother." Riddle asks if the hug was said, "Oh, a hug was a one-time only thing. That's cool. My stepdad wasn't much of a hugger either." Says, "I'm excited for the celebration tonight, and I know, Randy, you're going to love it." Orton says, "I'm not big on surprises or celebrations, so if Riddle could just do him one favor, don't do anything stupid." Riddle says, "Hey, you trust me that I wouldn't do something stupid, right?"
It was so overdone. It's so corny. Like, sometimes they're just so corny with stuff.
I know.
Like, Riddle's good and everything, but man, it's like, I don't know. It's so corny. After that, we had Jinder Mahal versus Mansoor. We had a picture-in-picture backstage bit with Mansoor telling Ollie, "Look, man, really appreciate everything, but I want to win the right way. So please don't get involved." And Larson, I really hope that, like, they don't just turn this into the standard trope of one guy wants to win clean and the other guy wants to win dirty.
I know.
Like, let's get a little bit of, I don't know, complexity here going. Agreed. Where Mansoor is conflicted and stuff. We saw this with Kenny Williams and what's his face and
Amir
Jordan in UK, and it's like, I want a little bit more complexity than that, you know?
Agreed.
So anyways, yeah, Jinder dominates this thing. I put early here, but pretty much throughout. And in fact, he gets himself DQ'd because he's stomping on Mansoor in the corner and doesn't observe the 5 count.
Yeah, he just gets mad.
Yeah, exactly. And so, he gets DQ'd. He leaves. Ollie is not pleased. He gets in and says, "Look, we can do things the wrong way or we could do them my way."
Yeah. After that, we have Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest backstage. Drew, he's all sweaty from his match. And he walks up to Priest, who's already been showered, or has already taken a shower, has his hair done. He says, "You already got your jewelry on." And then Priest says, "Yeah, I heard champs have to look good all the time," and gives Drew his thanks for helping out earlier. Drew says, "Hey, there's something to get it for me." He says Lashley and Sheamus are two of his least favorite people in the world. Congratulates Priest on beating Sheamus. Congratulates himself for beating Sheamus tonight. And says, now that Sheamus is in a corner crying his eyes out, it makes me happy. And then Priest starts talking about how winning the U.S. title was his dream as a kid. And then Drew says, "Live the dream. You know, Sheamus and I used to go out drinking, put a bunch of pints away, but tonight it's going to be you and me, Damian Priest. They're going to party it up in San Diego."
What did he say when so Priest said, "Okay, yeah, great, go put some pants on," and you hear Drew say something?
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought you were going to catch it, which is why I didn't rewind it.
I couldn't catch it,
but it was probably hilarious. Whatever it was,
I know
these guys have good chemistry, and now I want to see them drinking together.
Exactly.
I want to see a segment with them out on the town. It'll be corny. I don't care. Sometimes, fun chemistry supersedes that. But yeah, that's good stuff. So Maggie here in the chat says, you guys see the backstage segment that was online where Mansoor was popping off on Ali? No. I want to check. I want to see that.
Yeah, check that out.
After that, we had 2 Charlotte promos back to back, which I know Maggie probably loved. But this was weird. This was really weird.
They had the punctuation of the pyro in between. Like promo over, you think?
Promo over, and then she starts a new promo back to back.
That was more or less the same thing. I'm telling you, man, they had 2 drafts for a promo for her, and they couldn't decide which one to do, so they did both.
Let's do them both. Include the end of one, and then we'll start the other one. So it goes in this order. And I did this. None of this is verbatim. It's bullet points. Number 1, she says, "I told you so." Maggie popped. Could you please quiet down, Maggie? No all caps here in chat. She said, number 1, "I told you so." Number 2, "I don't need anyone." Then we get the pyro. And then she just starts a new promo where she
took a while to get to those 2 bullet points.
Yeah. No, it was a long road. Yeah. "I'm not messing around anymore." Calls out the roster. "Long live the queen." And then Alexa comes out and says, "Congratulations. Lily and I just wanted to say hi."
Yeah.
So that's going to be the thing. But it took forever to get there.
It did. Lou NYC here says, "I believe Drew said, 'I'm going out this way.'" He said he's going out on the town with no pants on.
That's good.
That's pretty funny.
That's good. Yeah.
So after Charlotte's double promo, we got Shayna and Nia backstage. Shayna's wondering why Nia is like, "Oh, you want to team up with me now after you just teamed up with Charlotte?" And Nia says, "Hey, I thought that was my chance to get back in the title picture. I took it. I did all the work of the match. Charlotte took the pin from me. Now she's champ, and I'm no closer to getting into the title picture. Won't make that mistake again." And Shayna says, "Yeah, we butt heads a lot, but we're on the same page. No one beats us. Let's go show everyone why we are the unstoppable force."
And then we had an Elias video package where he says, "I conquered entertainment. I didn't want to conquer entertainment. I wanted to conquer wrestling. And after that, we can conquer the world. The old Elias is dead. Long live Elias, the WWE superstar."
And he had like a really wide-brimmed hat he put on.
Yeah.
I don't know
I was
where this
hoping
is going.
for a different name. I wanted a different name.
Well, his name is now Elias, the WWE superstar. Obviously, his full name.
Yeah, it's a good point. Elias, the WWE superstar. Last name, the WWE superstar. First name, Elias.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Then we had Nikki, A.S.H, and Rhea Ripley taking on Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax. Sadly, Shayna and Nia cannot get on the same page. At one point, Nia was trying to break up a pin. Rhea moved. Nia splashes Shayna, and then Rhea boots Nia out of the ring. Nikki then hits Nia with a splash off the top rope, and then Rhea hits Shayna with Riptide to get the win. Mm-hmm. I'm not super excited to see Nikki and Rhea in a tag team. They are pretty good together. Like they work well together.
They have good chemistry. They have good chemistry. Yeah, and they're both really good wrestlers. And
they are.
When you see the in-ring stuff, when Rhea is rooting on Nikki to go hit that fun splash, basically saying "Fly, Nikki, fly." It's cool.
Yeah.
It's nice. I like it. I just wish that they found a way to like really, I don't know, raise these stakes quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Get those tag team titles back onto Raw or something. I don't know. They're supposed to be cross-brand, but like, when's the last time we actually saw them?
I feel like Tegan Nox and Shotzi have already earned a women's tag title opportunity like 4 times at this juncture. So
No. They're going to need a couple more championship contenders. Hey, speaking of which, is it possible that the championship contender match phase is done? There were none last night.
Well, I think we need to give it a couple weeks before we can say that with certainty whether it's done.
I'm going to tell you, if we don't see a championship contender match with, where they actually call it that,
yes.
They might still do rematches. But if they don't call any match on SmackDown a championship contender match,
yeah,
it's done. I'm calling it.
All right, we'll see. Be interested to see what replaces it as Vince's latest whim.
Oh, there's going to be whims, man.
Oh, of course. Might get 2 out of 3 falls matches every week again.
It's going to be something new. It's going to be something different. It's going to be like, it's going to be something weird. I don't know what it's going to be.
Everything's no DQ matches. He just gets like a no DQ phase.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. I'll check that out for sure.
Then we get a John Morrison promo. He says, "That's it. No more Miz and Morrison, no more Miz TV, no more dirt sheets, no more music videos. He says, I'm ending this thing next week when I get you in the ring, Miz.
Yeah, calls him a double-crossing son of a bitch. And then we had the main event segment. No, we didn't. Well, yeah, it was main event sequence.
It was the penultimate main event sequence.
Yeah. The Riddle and Orton's championship celebration. Riddle comes out first, gives Orton a rousing intro. And then they've got, was it Greg Hamilton? Was it? No, it was the other guy, Mike Rome, doing their intro and their announcement, and then they light off. Apparently, because they couldn't use any of that pyro in Vegas, they just brought it all to San Diego for Charlotte and this. A ton of pyro. Riddle says, friendship is just as important as championships. So I went out and got you something special, and it's Randy Orton's own scooter. He decked it out really nicely.
It's got tassels.
Got tassels, and it has a quick release system, so you could fold it up and
got
stuff.
Randy's name on the deck
with hearts on it. Looks pretty nice.
It was pretty cool. It's a nice blue color.
So AJ Styles and Omos interrupts. They used to call him Omos, and now it's more Omos.
But before it was Omos, I think it was.
Was it Omos?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So anyways, AJ mocks the scooter, says, hey, Riddle, I noticed Randy didn't get you anything. No gift. No plant, which probably would have been most appropriate.
That's kind of
Not
funny.
even a hug. Yeah, that's funny. And he says, but don't fret. That means don't worry. I got some. Like he has to explain what don't fret means. He says, but don't fret. That means don't worry.
Yeah.
I got you a phenomenal forearm to wipe your stupid smile off your face. I'm going to whip your ass over and over till we get our rematch, and I'm going to do it right here, right now. Riddle says, I accept, Skipper. And I'm going to beat you with the 3 most dangerous letters, RK Bro. And AJ's like, that's not even 3 letters. It's 5 letters. It's pretty funny stuff.
It's pretty funny. That match was our main event. AJ is working over Riddle's leg throughout the match. Eventually gets Riddle in a calf crusher. And Orton's like, hey, come on, Riddle, get to the rope. Get to the bottom rope. Styles brings Riddle back center ring, puts his calf crusher back on. Riddle then pretty seamlessly reverses it into a bro mission. AJ rolls up Riddle, gets a 2. Riddle hits a ripcord knee. He goes up top, and then Omos walks over towards that corner. And Riddle, once again, is distracted by Omos. That allows Styles to knock Riddle off the top rope. But then Orton runs around the ring, scooter in hand. Oh, wait, not yet. Sorry. Omos tosses Orton aside on the floor. AJ hits a burning hammer in the ring, gets a 2. He's set up for a Styles clash. And that is when Orton attacks Omos with his new scooter. He's just bashing him with it left and right. That distracts AJ, allows Riddle to hit a final flash knee. Bro Derek to get the win.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a reason Vince keeps on putting Riddle and AJ in a ring together. They're great
matches.
together. They put on great matches. But what was really the best part about this, obviously, was just how invested Randy Orton was in Riddle's success. It's great watching Orton in this role. It's a lot of fun. Of course, they do their pose at the end, and everybody pops big. They are tremendously over.
They are. It was pretty great then when AJ finally came to from the Bro Derek. Randy hit him with an RKO. And then they hit their pose, yeah.
They hit their pose, and it was great. Did they hit their pose when they won the titles at a SummerSlam?
Oh, I don't remember. Probably.
Was this? I mean, I was thinking, is this the first time they actually do their pose together? Or have they done it before? I don't know. I tend not to pay attention.
Same.
So, anyways, I will pay attention to some questions though, because we got plenty of them here. If you're not able to make a live show, you can ask a question here on the show. Just hit us up on the Patreon at patreon.com/Steve and Larson. No matter what reward tier you choose, you have access to the question thread for all of our recaps. JTV
Indeed.
Starts off with, seriously, why did the commentary team say Jinder is back in contention? He just lost his match.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Nope.
RI Wrestling fan with the sub, thank you so much. Jimmy Thomas says, Nikki and Rhea give me Superman and Lobo energy.
Oh, that's good. I like that. That's a good comparison there. I think they got a Superman versus Lobo book out right now on the shelf. Might have checked that out in 6 months when it hits the DC app. Let's see here. Moses opposes. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Moses opposes says, bit of a WWE admin question, but was it ever reported why SummerSlam was on Saturday and TakeOver on Sunday? I don't know if they ever actually said that it was the reason, but didn't the reason have something to do with Did it have anything to do with the Allegiant Stadium not being able to do stuff on Sundays because of reasons? I thought somebody in our chat said that.
Maybe. I don't remember. Yoshibal says, I saw the show live last night, enjoyed the hell out of it. I don't know if it was the beers or the lack of commentary, but 3 hours flew by and I had a great time. Makes me think that WWE programming is written to get the max out of the live audience while disregarding the TV audience and long-term storytelling. I don't know, because I feel like, that could have been the experience. That could have been the case last night. I feel like I've been at Raws, though, too, where I felt like the premium was on making sure the show was better for the TV audience. This was a number of years ago, so, philosophies change, obviously. Maybe they want to make the show good for fans, so word of mouth goes around that, hey, this is a fun show live, because they want to bring people back to live shows. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
No, I think to Yoshibal's point, I do think that at the very least there's a directive to play up the live crowd a lot more. Mm-hmm. Like you can see it. Like they played at the live crowd a lot. Mm-hmm. Drew, I've noticed especially. He's always surveying people and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it does help. With the crowd energy. And yeah, I could see that point. I could see that, the idea of just popping crowds is potentially something they're trying to do. And maybe they're thinking, well, if they pop the crowd will be energetic and it'll make for a more pleasing product. But if it's at the expense of long-term storytelling, I could see that too, because, it's funny, man. I don't know. I didn't get your read on this, but like somebody posted on Twitter yesterday, a segment from probably NXT or something. I don't know what it was, where Becky shows up at the Performance Center. It's back when Bianca and Shayna and Marina Shafir was there. They were still, I guess, in early NXT developmental or something.
Yeah.
And she's giving a speech and she says something along the lines of, always take the first shot. Don't trust anybody because they will sucker punch you and take what's yours. And Bianca's standing right behind her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if anybody out there thinks that Vince McMahon is sifting through old footage to find seeds of stories, they are tripping, because that does not happen. What WWE does do is they're constantly rolling cameras so that this stuff is just available. Yeah. It's like, it's awesome coincidence and happenstance.
And maybe it's entirely possible that someone in creative, or several people in creative, they're maybe going through their Twitter timeline, sees that. It's like, that's something we could use now that someone's found that and pointed that out to us.
It's a possibility that like Becky saw this, or Bianca remembered, either of them remembers it rather. And so, but the idea, from what was reported, who knows if this is true? Vince is the one who came up with this idea to pitch it. But this stuff.
There's the thing from Meltzer saying that it was Becky's idea to come back as a heel, and it was Vince's idea to just do things as they were done at SummerSlam. Those things can obviously coexist, Of
course, yeah, absolutely.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and look. Here's the thing. I have no doubt that AEW, when Jericho brought up Juventud Guerrera a year ago, whenever it was, they hadn't planned out the labors of Jericho quite yet. I'm sure that, like any good storytellers, I'll be like, okay, well, let's see what happened back then, and let's see if we can use that for today, and then it can be retroactively long-term storytelling. You know what I mean? Part of it is that you set up a bunch of stuff as storytellers. This probably happens in television, fiction, and movies, all sorts of stuff. You set up a bunch of stuff, and then you can let it play out and reference it to write your final acts or whatever. But I don't even know what we were talking about. Long-term storytelling. That's what we're talking about.
Patrick Oliva says Nick Khan said that Vegas is a Saturday night type town in an interview, I believe, as far as why SummerSlam was on.
Okay,
Saturday.
Well, there you go. And then some people are saying that, the Raiders played on Sunday anyways.
Oh.
So, there you go.
That could be it. Yoshibal also says the crowd was super into every heel-face dynamic the WWE was presenting. Becky got heavily booed. All the faces got lots of cheers. I was surprised.
Eddie Brock's Venom says, I'm okay with heel Becky because Bianca's thing is with Bayley and Banks, since being called up from NXT, having to learn how main roster works, being the rookie and not basically learning from 3 weeks ago when Banks came back and turned on her and she didn't learn that. learn from that with Becky, which is a good point. I think all this stuff is good points. It's just in the moment, it was fairly confusing. I don't think that it made the most of that concept with what we've been given with Becky Lynch, and it just sort of took the wind out of the sails of everything. If this happened in the normal course of like their storytelling, like at SmackDown or whatever.
And there's a build to that moment where they lay the groundwork, that moment happens. You have that Becky sucker punch. You're like, oh, okay. You look back and you're like, okay, it was there. You could see it coming. Doesn't make the moment any less surprising.
I mean, dude, I think it maybe would have been even more effective, and you could have given credence to the whole long-term storytelling thing is, what if Becky came back on... She did this thing at SummerSlam, right? Mm-hmm. And on SmackDown, she references that speech, and they show footage of it, where she talks about that. And, hey, Bianca, you need to learn this lesson because look at what happened with Sasha Banks. Look at how she came back and turned on you. Mm-hmm. And Bianca's like, yeah, you're right. And then maybe like the next week, Becky pulls that shit and she's like, what did I just tell you? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then it's like, oh, you have a story there where they referenced it.
Yep.
And then they did it as opposed to how they did it at SummerSlam, which just seemed obviously
which is probably they'll do it and then find some reason
justification for
to justify it in the future. Yeah. Spideyville says, if the two of you are asked to guest produce an episode of Raw in place of Kevin Dunn, what visual changes would you make in regards to presentation? Fly on the wall backstage segments. There's no reason the camera should be in any space unless it's motivated. And now if the visual language you're establishing is fly on the wall stuff, like there's just camera people catching moments backstage, that makes sense. It's all fly on the wall type stuff. Or like when Batista attacked Ric Flair and brought the cameraman with them. That kind of stuff. I don't want people just be talking in a locker room and a camera happening to be there. I want the camera to be motivated for some particular specific reason.
Yeah. I want all the cameras to be like mad dashing it like they're filming a documentary. It's like, oh, this is happening. And you just get like the tail end of a conversation.
Yeah.
And then I'd also have them produce shit like that Ruby Soho stealing a car bit that we saw.
Yeah, that was good.
That stuff is cool. I want to see more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What else do we got here?
Anthony R says, what if this is Kross's idea and we're all assuming it's Vince's?
I mean, he did start with the gladiator type trunks in NXT. I mean, it seems possible that the very genesis of this was his idea, maybe. And either Vince saw it and was like, oh, that's great. Let's double down on that. Because the straps are new.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That's something he could have easily done in NXT. Even with the helmet, could have easily done that in NXT. Didn't.
I mean, I'd still make fun of it.
Yeah.
Regardless, because it looks cheap. So if he showed up and he's like, hey, Vince, I've got this great looking outfit here. Can I use this? And Vince is like, let me see it. It looks like you have a bucket on your head. Ooh. Oh, well, that wasn't my intention. Yeah, we're going to do it.
I like buckets.
I like buckets. You could use them for a lot of stuff. Carrying things, mopping things, other uses.
More things. It says more things.
More things. This is great. Michael Migand says, power rank the three Karrions of WWE. Dominant NXT brand Goldberg Karrion, Jeff Hardy Jobber Karrion, BDSM Gladiator Karrion. Well, clearly number one is NXT brand Karrion.
Yeah.
Number two is BDSM Gladiator. Number three is the guy who jobbed to Jeff Hardy in 90 seconds.
Yeah. That you can't really argue with that.
Mm-hmm. Maggie here says, honestly, as a ginormous mark for Becky, it sucks things went down the way they did because everyone's just upset. I have faith in Becky and Bianca to tell a good story. The problem is definitely that WWE has caused a lot of fans to rightfully not share that same faith. Mm-hmm. Shoot, if this was literally anyone else besides Becky, I'm sure I'd be angrier about it too. I agree with that. Like, I think that a really cool story is here to be told. Is unfortunately within the context of things even outside of Becky and Bianca. it's just disheartening. But if they end up telling this really awesome story out of it, like they have that moment at SummerSlam to reference going forward.
Yeah.
And if Bianca ends up as like a major star coming out of all this, we're going to get a really cool moment at like a WrestleMania or next year's SummerSlam or something.
Yeah.
If they go that route, it's just because WWE has this pattern of dropping the ball more often than not. And it's not all the time, but it is more often than not.
Yeah, that they did not earn the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, it's difficult to say, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And it's how many times we just saw it recently with the Nikki Cross story where they go from, point A to point M in a story without hitting all the beats in between. That'll actually really make you care when, the big climactic thing happens. I mean, that should have been when Nikki beat Charlotte to win the belt. That should have been a huge climactic moment. Because that's when the superhero topples the supervillain. Yeah. And now they'll try to frame it when that actually happens, if it happens. Who knows at this point? If it happens in a standard one-on-one match when Nikki beats Charlotte. But the problem is, she's already cashed in. She's already won the title. Kind of takes the wind out of that moment a little bit. She's already beat Charlotte in a one-on-one match. Granted, it was, a no-holds-barred, no DQ type situation. Still, she's got to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even if they do go back to that moment, it's not going to be as impactful because they haven't laid the groundwork properly.
Yeah. But to Maggie's point, I will say this. Her Becky was my Triple H. And so whatever he did, no matter how wrong it was, I was always into it because it was Triple H.
Again, WWE relies on your attachment to their characters to get a lot of stuff over that shouldn't work or doesn't work. They do. They do.
Yeah.
They take these leaps of logic and they're like, people like Becky, like Triple H, like whoever. They'll be fine with it.
I think
it happens way too often.
The one time I was like, they went too far was Booker T. That was the one time when I was like, man, I'm like the biggest Triple H fan, but even I realized that was not okay. That was not okay. But otherwise, anything Triple H did, I don't care who. I was even when they screwed over Jericho, I was kind of mad, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, that's the game. He's the game. He could do that.
You're singing My Time to yourself, huh?
I was, yeah. Yeah, man, Triple H is my dude. Let's see here. This is a good story here from Church. He says, not Raw related, but this speaks to how much Punk signing is going to change things. My girlfriend's 8-year-old son asked me to get him a Goldberg toy. I jokingly said, nope, only CM Punk, just teasing him. And his face got super serious, and he said, wait, you can get me a CM Punk toy? I smiled and said, how much do you know, or how do you know who CM Punk is? He says, you were one when he wrestled his last match. The little man replied, because Punk is a legend.
Wow. 10 legacy.
Oh, man. That's good. Yeah, 10 legacy, exactly. He is a legend, man. He's mythical status now.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This is great. We'll end on this one. Kenny T says, I found out recently Baron Corbin was the last person to pin Roman Reigns. His angle has included some great storytelling. Any chance with more long-term storytelling that fans that fans bring him to the point where Baron Corbin beats the tribal chief?
I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if that were to happen, but I'd be really surprised if that were to happen.
I would be shocked, but that would be so much money. If it was, listen to this. If at Money in the Bank last year began 7 years of bad luck, but at the end of that, Roman still has the title.
7 years, he goes on a Bruno run,
and 7 years from now, or 6 years from now, or whatever, he's turned it around such to the point where the fans are just completely behind him, and he goes on this tear finally, and he ends up beating Roman for the title.
I mean, that'd be something.
That'd be great.
That'd be
awesome.
something.
I'd be into that.
That would be.
Anyways,
something.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it. Till next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.